and I'll start letting people in. Thank you so much for being on here in our lovely little uncensored group. And I'm going to just start admitting people and we'll get going.
No worries.
All right. And I'm going to pop off so I can live stream us into Facebook, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right, fantastic. So thank you so much, Lisa Morgan and Helen Cartwright. I'm not sure if Joyce Morales will be joining us or not. She was also slated to be one of the masterminds. And if she doesn't make it, that's okay. We have plenty of brilliance just between us. And if she does, that would be great too, because you can't ever have too much, right? And I would like to just go ahead and say thanks so much. The December mastermind is a little different because normally we don't have a theme, but this month's theme is building a better business. We are all hypno professionals in some capacity or another. Some, just getting started. Some have been doing this for a while and they would like to just scale up their business. And so that's what it's all about. We had Jason Lynette as the spotlight guest host 2 weeks ago, talking about the same stuff, just how to build a better business. Lisa Morgan is a business coach who sort of marries together like the spiritual as well as practical approach. And Helen Cartwright, I'm not as familiar with your work, but you came very highly recommended to me. So I would love for you to just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then I'll come back to you too, Lisa.
Oh, okay, 60. Wow. Where to start? So I'm new to the therapy world, right? I qualified February this year with RTT, which I know is, controversial. But my background is in business. And so I've run businesses for about 20 something years. And I've built 4 multi-million-dollar businesses from the ground up in the last 20 years, which has been cool. I've had some incredible, awesome times. I've had some absolutely terrible times. And yeah, it all comes together. Since I've moved into this world of therapy, I came in to be a therapist, and then I realized this massive chasm of, and I guess because I've come out of the Marissa Peer machine, right? So we churn through these poor, unsuspecting graduates, and then we throw them out into the world of business. And they have no clue what they're doing, no clue. So I'm kind of on a mission to fix that and bridge that gap. So I've put together a bunch of stuff
I think that's needed across the board, because even if you have sort of a built-in how to get your business started within the program, it's not going to fit for everyone, right? So no. I think it's fantastic that we have all these different options out there, and some people are very much based on just the pragmatic scaling up, lots of exposure. And then some people are more on the, how to get yourself emotionally prepared for all of that. And we need all of you. It's not one size fits all. Lisa, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your approach.
Yeah, hi guys, how you going? For me, again, I've been in business, started my own businesses for the last 30 years, originally a fitness background. Had an accident about 4 years ago that led me into hypnosis. That I thought I'd need to leave my fitness background for. And a little bit like Helen, I noticed that I was just drawn. I found that when I was doing the hypnosis, it was the mindset. I was really helping people with mindset, particularly in business, particularly with money issues, particularly with money mindset, etc. And then I realized I've always been into the spiritual approach as well. My mom's a psychic healer, and I've always loved the spirituality. But I noticed that the clients that I was working with, it was one step further than that. So it was all very well working with the subconscious mind, but if there was you know, an old wound, a childhood wound or something like that, that was blocking. It didn't matter what they were doing with their business or with the subconscious, they still were struggling to get there. And I myself in that business was a little bit like that until I found that, you know, what I needed to work with. So the clients that I work with now, we tend to start with not even looking at the strategy per se. We look at where they are now, you know, as what their belief system is. So I think that's where I start. I start with belief systems. We go back to find, and I don't do root to cause. It's more about feelings. I work on the feelings and you know, release whatever is going on with them there, and then the strategy comes from there. And I work, I do group programs, but I work a lot with one-on-one, and had some amazing results with clients that have been hypnotherapists that have been working for years and sort of struggling getting a client here and a client there, and then all of a sudden it's like kapow, you know, I've got it now, I found it. So
I love this, and I think it's fantastic that the two of you do have different backgrounds and different approaches, because the questions that we have for you, I think you're going to have really different answers for.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about that. So you guys ready to get started with the questions that I've had come in?
Yeah.
The first one is from Nicole Dodd, and she says her issue lately is visibility on Facebook. And I imagine that's across the board with other social media, but maybe her primary focus is Facebook. For whatever reason, she's just not getting good viewing numbers on her posts. She's getting very little engagement, and she would like to know how to build up her online presence to get more online clients. So Helen, what would be your advice or your suggestions to her?
So Facebook, Instagram, very similar issues with being completely at the mercy of the algorithm, and I guess it depends what Nicole's trying to target with her post. Is she wanting to get to an audience that she's already established, or is she wanting to reach outside of that audience? Nicole, are you on the call, or is
it doesn't look like she is.
I can't see.
Yeah.
So if you're wanting to reach into Facebook and you're going through your own page, then you've got to understand that you're going to get to something between 2 and 10% of the people that actually follow you with every post, which means that either you need to just repetitively post and run the risk that people are going to go, oh my God, I've had enough of Helen, I'm out of here. Or you need to find a different way to engage with those people who are already included in your world. But that's the mood of Facebook and Instagram at the moment.
Do you have any suggestions for hacks to get around the algorithm? Okay.
So you can't get around the algorithm, and you've just got to know that if your content has worked in the past and has suddenly stopped working, it's nothing to do with your content. It's all to do with what they're doing with the algorithm on that particular day. So you just got to hold the faith and keep going. But what I will say is that if you're trying to expand outside and look for new clients, you are not going to get that on Facebook just by posting on your page. You're not. If you imagine your page goes out to your friends, your family, your ex-colleagues, your neighbors, wherever the mass of your business is, but it doesn't go any further. So if you're looking for new clients, proactively posting on Facebook is not going to bring them to you. So you need a different strategy that is comfortable for you. It's got to be effortless for you. It's got to be in your area of comfort. But posting, I watch people do this all the time, and they spend hours and hours on Canva creating beautiful things when they put them into Facebook, and it's just going to that network that already knows you. So you've got to break out of that and do something else. If you have a contained unit of people on Facebook who know, like, and love you, put them into a Facebook group, just like our Facebook group, just like this Facebook group, because every time you want them to see something, you can put that. Absolutely, Facebook just want your money. Let's be really clear on Alfred, you're on the money. They just want your money, and if they ever tell you anything else, they're lying. If you've got a Facebook group and you and you nurture that Facebook group. If you've got something of value that you can put into that Facebook group, so if you've got a free meditation, if you've got a free any kind of mechanism that will bring people into your practice, if you put that into a private Facebook group, you can pull people into the group, and then you can manage the comms just like Carissa does into the group. And that's where you build a business on Facebook. It's in a Facebook group, not on a Facebook page. Second thing is, whenever you set up a Facebook page, just whilst I'm on my rant about Facebook, always set up two, because you are at the mercy of the algorithm. And if anything goes wrong and they ban your page, it's almost impossible to get a human person to come and interact and give you the page back. So whenever you set up a brand page, if you set up a business page, set up one, and then one with your business name by Helen.
Wow.
So that you've got a duplicate of the page, so that if everything goes to Helen one, you've got a backup that you can go to.
Great. Thank you so much, Helen. Yes.
Was that helpful?
And I've got a few little tips too, but I'm going to have Lisa address this as well. So here's the question again, Lisa. Visibility on Facebook, for whatever reason, she's just not getting good viewing numbers on the posts and getting very little engagement. So we've got Helen's very practical, pragmatic advice based on the algorithm, which is fantastic. And I would love to put this to you as well, as far as helping Nicole build her online presence.
Yeah,
specifically to get online clients.
Yeah, and I second what Helen said. Groups is the way. Building your audience, nurturing your audience, and Carissa is, prime example of this. She's amazing at doing that. First of all, whatever you put on there, if you're putting on there just because you feel bog standard, oh, I need to put a post up today, you're not putting your energy into it. People buy transformations in our world, in any world really. People buy transformations, and shake up your Facebook page. If you're putting the same kind of posts out there all the time, people get bored with it. Facebook gets bored with it. So what I recommend with my clients is I tell them to do 5 different types of posts on a regular basis, whether that's 5 a week. If you're just putting 1 out a week, 2 out a week, you're not going to get the response that you want. You really need to shake it up, because Facebook like people who work, that work the system, that are getting that are working with it. So put up, an interaction post. So that's what I always do first of all. And if you go into groups, never go into just putting yourself out there. Do the introduction post and then put an engagement post in there, because if you've had a really good engagement post, your next post will get seen more. So if you can get a post that is really, who do you prefer, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer or Jingle Bells or whatever, Christmas dinner or seafood or whatever, just get something where you're getting that engagement post going. Once the engagement post is there, then put another post up within 24 hours and that post will get seen a lot more. Consistency is key. And I think this is where, with the visibility, the mindset has to come into it, because to put 4 or 5 posts up a week, it's a pain in the bum. Initially it's hard work because it's not natural, but once you get used to it and you get used to putting those transformational stories up there, the testimonials, people to get to know you as a person, just putting information out there about your work all the time, people don't find that interesting. If you're not getting the views, then Facebook won't show your views the next time because of that algorithm. Whereas if you're getting interaction in any of your posts, which is why it's good to mix them up. I always notice that if I go on holiday or I put something up there that's personal about me, and this is on the personal page, not in my group, I get lots and lots of interaction. Then I'm 9 times out of 10, the next post I put up there that will be work related, I get more interaction with that one. So that's probably what I would say. Mix your posts up. When you're bringing in more Canva type posts, they don't get seen as well as just a bright face. The brighter the colors, the more they get shown as well. This is everything that I've sort of learned and experienced throughout my time as well. But mindset is everything. If you've got the good energy and the mindset behind it, your post will be better.
Thank you. Thank you so much, both of you. So I have a few little tidbits too, because I run quite a few groups and stuff. try and get it so that everything is interconnected to some degree. So if you have people that you are sending a freebie to, make sure that their email continues to stay in your email list that you can then invite to groups depending on, because I have like a couple different ones. So for hypno professionals, this would be the group that I would invite them into. If I found them here, then I ask them, would you like to opt into the email? And then I can also use that to send them other stuff. So that, number one. Two, as far as actual engagement goes, there's a few words that the algorithm will block your posts if you use.
It's true.
The word link, if you say link here, link below, link above, the link is there, you're not going to get seen. And they are getting smarter too, because you used to be able to say, check the comments below, but now the word comments is getting flagged. So they're trying to do whatever they can to make it so that you can't do this free at no cost, because like Helen said, Facebook is all about making money. That's their whole thing, right? So they don't want you to find ways of engaging with potential customers where they don't get their cut. One thing I've noticed, don't get too salesy in your posts. Be real, be controversial, piss people off once in a while. It's okay. It's okay. You're not going to be able to please 8 billion people on the planet all at the same time anyway. So you might as well just be your own authentic self and let those people who resonate with you find you, and those people who don't will just fall away. And that is actually a good thing. Another fun thing to do is share other people's posts, because that builds loyalty. It makes them feel really good. Like, hey, I'm being recognized. She's sharing my post. She's sharing it on her page, or she's sharing it within a group. And they're like, thank you so much for doing that. That's really helpful. And then one thing that I would just like to point out, when you're posting something, there are people that will just sort of come in and sort of try and poach your group. I would say for the most part, yeah, let bygones be bygones. But if they're constantly linking back to their page, constantly linking back to their stuff, their blogs, their ads, their whatever, it might be a good idea to just go ahead and address it. And it doesn't have to be in a mean way, because they may or may not even realize that that's what they're doing. And so what else? I think that, the posting 5 posts a day or whatever, if you're not inspired to do that, there's all sorts of apps that you can, and software and coaches and stuff that will give you like a list. But personally, I think just go with what inspires you. So if you're on a JAG one week and you're like, I'm really fascinated with this subject, then go ahead and create 5 to 10 posts and just keep them in the queue and set them to schedule to run out, so that you have like 1 or 2 dropping a day. And it keeps that conversation going, like Lisa said. Because once you get some people interested, then the algorithm's going to show more. And if you're staying on a similar topic throughout the week, it's really going to get a lot of traction. So that's my 2 cents. And I guess I'm taking Joyce's place since she's not here. So now we still have three on the squad. Okay, so next question is scaling up to offer higher ticket items. Do either of you feel particularly... like, is that your niche? Is that yours, Helen? Okay, I'm sure that Lisa has something to say too, but let's go ahead and start with you.
The jump. So, whose question was that? Are they here?
Oh, I just now. Hold on, I will look. I exited out because I was like, that's the last of that one. Okay, it is Jonathan Stephen. And then Jenny McGurk also said scaling, so sort of same thing. So they're both kind of asking the same thing.
So moving to high ticket is you have to get really clear on exactly what you're delivering. Like Eva's just said in the chat, you've got to be absolutely solid on what that transformation is from and to, and then you've just got to say, this is a demographic issue, right? So if you go to the bottom end of the market, if you go to that $27, here's a self-hypnosis recording for smoking, that is such a crowded part of the market. And yes, you can make millions of dollars if you sell millions of audios at $27, but you can also find one client who is willing to pay $1 million for you to solve their smoking problem. So the problem that we solve doesn't change. It's just the audience. So scaling up to high ticket doesn't usually mean that you change what you do very much. What it does mean is it changes the audience that you're looking for, you're looking to engage with. And so you have to change the way that you talk. Sometimes you have to change the way that you deliver. If you're at the bottom end of the market and you're doing like that $27 self audio, whatever the problem is, then that would be a do-it-yourself solution. In the middle of the coaching pyramid, we've got the done with you solutions, which are generally the most expensive, the most productive type of coaching agreements. And at the top end of the market, then we've got the done for you solutions, which tends to be where the massive money is. But in hypnosis, we need to do that in a very, very gentle way. But prior to training in RTT, I used to run a weekend, which is, I'll bring it back next year actually. And I guess in the context, that's probably quite high ticket. So that was a group event and it was $8,000 for 2 days. And it used to sell out 3 times a year. But the level of service you give with that is very different to the level of service you give at the other end of the market. But the transformation, that's the key, is the same. That's the transformation is the same. So when you're going to that high end of the market, you just got to get really clear on what you're articulating in terms of the transformation that you're giving people.
And speaking
Once you've
on
got that nailed, then you'll be okay.
Yeah. Really important. And I meant to mention this before, but it ties in, segues perfectly with what you're just saying. Please don't fall into the trap of talking about your methods, your modalities, how you can help. It's not about you. It's not about your methods. It's actually about their issues, their problems, what they want solved. So when you're posting something, whether it's on social media or you're sending out an email or whatever, they want to know that they're being heard and seen. And so saying something that is, kind of like, wouldn't it be amazing if that $6,000 that you were spending on a vape pen last year could go towards vacation in Hawaii? Yep. They're going to be like, oh, I've had that thought. She hears me. She knows what I'm going through. And then you're addressing the problem. You're addressing the issue, the thing that the transformation, as Helen is talking about.
Once you can articulate somebody's problem better than they can, they will instantly and naturally credit you with knowing how to fix the problem.
And it gives you expertise.
Yeah, I would spend a lot of time thinking about the levels of pain your clients are in and how you lift them out of it. When I'm teaching people, I call this the cost of not. What's the cost of no action? And if you can get into the nitty gritty meat and bones of that and talk about that, then that will attract people naturally, effortlessly into your world. But you've really got to show that you've got massive compassion there.
And you got to get sneaky if you're doing weight loss issues, because Facebook and Instagram will boot it right on out of there. They won't approve it if you say anything that has to do with body image or weight.
No.
So you have to work around it.
Around it.
And pictures too, especially on Instagram. If you have any pictures that are even remotely hinting at the possibility that you might be talking about weight loss, they won't approve them. For ads anyway. Lisa, same question back to you. High ticket items.
Okay. So a couple of things here. What does high ticket look like to you as the therapist, and what does it represent? Because high ticket, that this thing, 10K months, 6-figure months or whatever, if somewhere subconsciously that scares you, we all want the money. We all want $10,000 clients. We all want 6-figure months or whatever. But what it takes to get there, if subconsciously that scares you, is, that's a lot of money. If a client pays you $10,000 or $5,000, that's a lot of money, and that's a lot of responsibility. So you just have to make sure that on a subconscious level, you feel you can deliver. You're confident in yourself that you can deliver. You know that you can deliver, but is there somewhere a little block in you? Because that's sometimes why it's difficult to get those high ticket clients. For me, when I'm selling high ticket clients, I tend to go more with the desire than the pain point, because I have found in the past, some people, if you're focusing a lot on the pain point, some people are actually caught up with the pain point and they quite like it. And I find those clients, this is my personal, could be controversial, but I find those more difficult to get over the line than the ones that I get through promoting transformation with desire. And I know that there's two schools of thought with that. And I just tend to go more so with the transformation with my marketing rather than the pain point. I have done pain point marketing in the past, but I've just found the clients that I've got, the ones that I've attracted through transformational desire, have their results have come a lot quicker, and they've worked more for it rather than come to me for the answer. So yeah, that's
one thing for me that helped me to start scaling up. Sorry, I'm trying not to talk too much because I'm kind of getting laryngitis after 2 weeks of strep. Sorry. Anyway, one thing that helped me was to look at some of the other higher priced programs out there, not necessarily just in my field, but in other fields too, and realize that, well, I've got that. I've totally got that. There are people out there that are doing what I want to be doing, and maybe not even as well as I could, but simply because they have more confidence, right? Because they have more chutzpah, because they have that ability to just go, let's do it. And so that was kind of the very first thing early on. I actually signed up for this coaching program. It was way overpriced for what was delivered. And I was like, oh my God, I haven't learned anything. I feel like I could be teaching this coaching program. And she just charged me $6,000. Like, what?
Yeah.
And so right then and there, I was like, yeah, Krista, you need to break out of this mindset. Okay, Ursula had a question as well. But since she's here, let's have her ask it. So go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hey.
So I'm not ready yet, and I understand that, but to make a course that I will sell. But because I'm formulating it and I have such great people to ask this question to, are there any things like tips or thoughts that if you've already developed a course that you're doing online, that you're like, geez, if I had known that before I started, I would have, saved some time or some effort or something. So if you have any tips about being in the process of building it. I'm really enjoying the process of building it because I'm getting clear and defined, and I feel good about that. And I feel fine about eventually moving into whatever format I use, whether it's Kajabi or something else. I don't really know yet because I'm not there. Don't do that. All right. So any tips or tricks?
I have a formula for building out courses. I've built courses for years. So I've got a formula. I can. Is this all right, Carissa? I can send it to you, Ursula. So I build from the inside out, and I'm really specific about what we're teaching, when we're teaching, why we're teaching, what that looks like. I am the most anal Virgo you will ever come across in terms of organizing.
Which is a good trait to have on your team as far as business coaching goes.
Yeah. So I guess probably are you build it once and you leave it and then it sells itself, or you proactively sell it and then you put people into it and they go through it or autonomously? Or are you wanting to create something that you build and then you invite people in to go through with you real time? What did you have in your mind?
Yeah, I like to have two things mostly, and for the beginning I very much want to have a live course that I will repeat. So there's there's the content, and there's some things that will be already produced that they'll have part of, but then they'll also have some interaction within the class setting. So let's say 12 weeks. I mean, ultimately it would be, I'd love 12 weeks for an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half once a week. But I'd also then like to have a product that's connected to it that people could purchase and do on their own as well. So like a side benefit maybe. or a pre-work or something like that.
And what's your subject, Ursula? What were you teaching?
Yeah, connecting to the divine feminine using intuition, creativity, and hypnosis.
Sounds like you two should get on a strategy call.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh crikey, this is probably not a 5-minute answer.
That's why I was, yeah, you guys should probably just get on a call.
Yeah, you need community, you need coaching, and you need content. If you're going to do it live as a group, building the community and getting them to connect and share and hold each other to account will be absolutely critical in the number of people that you get to 12 weeks. You've got to know that there's going to be a drop-off rate unless you've got that community going, unless you're doing one-on-one live coaching, in which case you will drag them to the end. But if it's group, then you need to put strategies in at the beginning that holds people to account. So that is every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we do this, or every Tuesday, there's a post goes into the group and this is your accountability post. But community is massive. Your content, you will work out because that's your genius zone. And then the coaching is your input in how you deliver this. So I will send to you in my learning portal, I will send to you a quick it's not 5 minutes, it's probably 2 hours of teaching that will work you through how my formula for doing this.
That's so kind. Thank you.
Welcome.
Lisa, we have a question for you from Hallie Thompson. I don't see her in here, but there she is. Hallie, yes, go ahead. You can ask Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for doing this. My quick question, would you be willing to give an example of what attracting a client through desire looks like versus through the pain point?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say, give me a subject. In what subject? And I'll give you.
So I work with people with chronic pain and I help them develop a growth mindset with that. So I when you say work through the desire, their desire is to not have the pain like dictate their life, right? So I guess I'm finding it challenging to correlate that through the desire. Am I making sense?
Yeah. So you're still, even though I mean, obviously, yeah, the result is they don't want the pain to dictate their life, but that's still coming from a pain aspect. So the pain point marketing would be there. Are you sick of having pain dictate your life? Are you finding that you're not living the life of your dreams, etc., etc.? Whereas a desire would be, how would you love to feel free in your body, to go on holidays, to blah blah blah. This, to do whatever. Find the do your research in what your clients are lacking. What is it that their chronic pain is stopping them from doing?
I'm picturing a visual of them dancing.
Yeah.
And then market the opposite.
Okay.
So, you do the research of the pain points, and then you look at, okay, well, if they've got all those issues and what's it holding them back from, then your marketing will be the desired effect at the end of it.
Okay.
And it just, you want people to move away from, you want people to move to the result rather than away from pain.
Yeah. Because when you were saying that when you focus on the pain point, they kind of are almost addicted to that pain point. I'm experiencing that as well a little bit, and those aren't really the clients I'm wanting to work with because they don't really want to get out of that.
Yeah.
And so I liked how you said focus on the desire, and I haven't really done that. I mean, you kind of put it in the pain point, right, marketing, but the desire, focusing on that, I really liked what you said. So thank you. I appreciate you verbalizing that for me to see that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So Eva says, what about using YouTube and or TikTok? I'm new to YouTube, but it does seem to be very helpful. But here's what I've noticed. This is just me. And here's me being a little controversial. Get ready. I think of YouTube as kind of like how the over 50 crowd Googles things. They do. Instead of just going to Google, they're like, oh, I want to watch a video on this. They'll go into YouTube and type in whatever their interest is. And then they're going to spend hours going down the rabbit hole watching every video about that particular interest, right? TikTok seems to be mostly the opposite. Now, there's definitely an over 50 crowd there. There's a huge X-Gen sort of, community in TikTok, but they're not really selling to each other. But it does skew younger. And if you want to get popular on TikTok, you cannot be salesy at all. It will be the death of you. I have seen really, really successful, popular business coaches try and take their format into TikTok, and it just flops miserably. They'll be hovering at right around 1,000 followers for months, because you can't just get on there and be like, hey, come buy this thing. It's so awesome and amazing. People are going to be like, scroll. Don't want that. It's kind of, like a telemarketer calling you up constantly. If you can, you'll just be like, scroll. So that's my 2 cents. And I do think that TikTok can be great for marketing, but it can't sound like marketing. It has to be personal stories. It has to be vulnerable. It has to be raw. It can't just be you giving advice. There has to be some sort of an emotion behind it, whether that's anger, sadness, frustration, joy, happiness, elation, whatever. But there has to be something that like reels them in, that's not just throwing products and services at their face. So anyway, so Helen, do you have anything to add about specifically YouTube or TikTok is what Eva was asking?
Yeah, so I think YouTube is a great place for us to be generally. I think TikTok is a great dopamine hit if you are a big brand and you have time and energy and money to spend on developing a TikTok presence. Go for it, but do not think for 1 minute, even if you get that massively viral one that everybody dreams of, it's not going to put clients in your calendar. Let's be really clear about that. It's just like Instagram.
Actually, it has for me, but that's, I don't know. It has for me. Like I have less than 2,000 followers, but I probably get 1 or 2 discovery calls a week from TikTok.
From TikTok. Okay. And how long have you been doing it?
About a year.
Yeah. So that's a long time. That's a
I've been getting, it's been consistent.
Time.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's
but
great.
I think a lot of it just has to do with how niched you are.
I think so I work with new graduates, so I come at it from a perspective of, if you're brand new and you're building from the bottom up, TikTok is not a place that's
Right.
going to bring you clients quickly.
I look at it more as like an experiment instead of,
if you can afford to
whether or
do
not
that.
it's successful.
There's so many RCT grads that are absolutely broke because they've spent all their money and they're running out of time and heading back to their day jobs, and that just does my head in. And I see people spending hours and hours and hours creating beautiful content, but it's hard to get cut through on there, whereas YouTube is like a reference book. So I think one of the things that I talk about a lot is the customer journey. And if we're selling anything else, usually people will make 4 visits to us before they actually commit and buy. We, amongst the things that my business does, we build websites for people so we can see traffic and we can see how long traffic takes before it converts into a discovery call or a clarity call or whatever you want to call it. And whereas in selling a lipstick or a house or a car or something else, you'd expect a customer to come to your website about 4 times before they buy. In hypnotherapy services, we're seeing like 10 to 30 visits to the website before they buy, because they've got a lot of questions, and we have to build a lot of trust. We have to build a lot of safety into our sales before people will come and commit to us. So whatever you're putting out there on any kind of media, I would come at it from the point of view that you have to build a lot of trust and you have to build safety into what you're saying. That's the most important thing for us to do as hypnotherapists, is build safety into what you're saying. You're asking somebody to come sit in your chair and commit themselves to letting you reprogram their mind. So don't think you can do that until you've built up credibility and safety with them. And you can do that on YouTube really quickly. Really, really quickly, because if you put out good content constantly on YouTube and you hashtag it right and you lead it back to your website and you do, you tick all the boxes, then you can do that. I've helped people do that really, really quickly, but I haven't had the same joy. So I'm that's awesome that you have. You are the first person I've met that has, Chrissa.
I think it's because I came at it totally with the mindset of, well, this will just
It's
be an
just
experiment and
just
it's
a
just
try.
fun and I'm not
Yeah.
going to have any expectations and just see what happens.
That's awesome. I'm going to go check out your channel and see what your content's like.
Yeah. And I don't post like with any strategy. I'm just like, oh, I have an idea. I feel like I'm going to share it. Here we go. But Lisa, what's your take on YouTube and TikTok?
Yeah, I haven't used YouTube, so I'm not going to comment on that. TikTok, I don't have an account, but clients that have and coaches that I go to use TikTok. And to be honest, what I find is I don't actually think it matters what platform you're on, as long as you stick and not spread yourself too thinly on all of them, because you get your followers on those platforms. And again, it's that algorithm thing as well. I know people that have also got clients on TikTok, but I think the main thing with social media now, because there's so much white noise out there, it's about being real. And I think, Chrissa, that's why you attract clients, because you're real, you're yourself. And like Helen was saying, people need that trust. They need to build up, that relationship with somebody. And if someone's going on there being raw, which is why I like to do lives on my personal page. I mean, I use Facebook groups and Facebook. That's my personal, a little bit of Insta, but not much. But that's my personal way of drawing clients in. And but I'm raw, I'm real. I am who I am, and I don't try to be too salesy. I don't try to be too perfect. So when people come to me, and that's the feedback that I get is, I just get you're real. What you see is what you get, kind of thing. And I think that's what people want to. That's when it doesn't take so, because as Helen said, the touch points now, because there's so much bullshit out there, the touch points are getting longer and longer. And Helen, I've heard 7 to 11 touch points. Helen saying, up to 30 on your website. And that's if you can get them to your website, which is all about you. So probably the one thing that I would say is, regardless of platform, whether it be YouTube, TikTok, just be real, just be you. And if you fluff up, don't try and make everything perfect, because that doesn't relate to people. What you want to do is actually be professional, obviously within what you do, but also be very real. And I think
people don't trust super polished so much anymore, because we've had so many decades of it, they just don't trust it as much. I really like that I can use these, and I am one of those people that probably spreads herself a little too thin across different platforms, but it's not because of any reason other than the fact that I'm just curious to see how it's going to work. And so I'm like, well, let's see what happens if I do this over here. And then, well, that didn't really go so well, but that's okay. It's just an experiment. But one thing that I do like about doing that is that when somebody finds me here, and then I have a link that refers them over here, and then I have a link that refers them over here, by the time they actually schedule a call with me, they already feel like they know me. And so they're already pre-sold. Like, I'm not having to answer a bunch of questions about, does hypnosis work? Will I stay in a trance forever? Are you going to make me go rob a bank tomorrow?
I think the difference is, Chrissa, you're already a brand. I think, if somebody's new and they're either still got their 9-to-5s or they're just starting out, it can be very overwhelming trying to find that content to spread over 4 or 5 different platforms.
Yeah.
So,
totally.
I'm not saying don't ever do it, but if you're starting out, stick to one or 2.
And for the first couple of years I did,
2.
it was just Facebook.
Yeah.
For the first probably 2-3 years was just Facebook. Yeah. For sure. But, having that sort of circular thing has been helpful, not just with the platforms, but also with just building up an email list and having, content that I can share and all that stuff. But yeah, that's a good point. As far as like people who are just starting up, and there are quite a few of those in here, but there's also a lot of people who have been at this for years and just haven't quite figured out how to like get past that threshold. They've reached their own sort of glass ceiling, and not really knowing how to break through it. So on that, I would love to just open it up and ask, Lisa, we'll start with you this time. Since you do mindset coaching, what would you suggest people to do to help break that like sort of self-limiting belief?
Okay, well, number one, my biggest thing is action takers get results. Imperfect action And I think when we are looking to break that glass ceiling or looking to move forward, there's trepidation, there's fear, there's imposter syndrome, there's lack of confidence, etc. But the only way that we're going to conquer that is by doing something. And we feel a lot better. And even if it's a flop, you know, it doesn't matter. It's moving you forward into whether it be marketing or learning what not to do, you know, or it could just be the algorithm. It could be any of those things. But I think sitting there worrying or just doing the odd thing once and then waiting and it didn't work and then feeling that it's not going to work again, and you know, it compounds that feeling that we're not good enough. So for me, it's, you know, wherever clients, I push my clients out of their comfort zone a little bit, and each week, you know, that I'm working with them, I make them do something they didn't do the week before, and by the end of it, they are, you know, bringing in clients and have programs and, you know, they've created, etc., purely because I've pushed them out of their comfort zone. So I would say, you know, if you're just working with yourself, just do something that scares you. Just take action. It doesn't matter. I mean, obviously,
Repeatedly,
yes.
also.
Yeah, strategy, of course, matters, but mindset. If you can have all the strategy in the world, but if you don't have the mindset that backs that, the energy that backs that, the strategy still won't work. Whereas you may not quite have the strategy, but if you've got the mindset, you're going to get somewhere. So you need both to be really successful. But if you're just going to go with one or the other, you know, you've got to work on your mindset first to move you forward. Take action, and once you've taken action and you've seen just a little bit of result, you realize it's not that scary, and you'll then take another step and then another step, and then that moves you towards your goal.
Thank you so much. I'm going to pass it to Helen in just a sec, but I wanted to touch upon something you just said, which is, you know, if you do something and it doesn't seem to be successful, don't hold on to that and nurture that one tiny little, you know, perceived failure and be like, well, it's never going to work. And I've had a client like that where, and she was a hypnotherapist too, but she had written an article, this was years ago, one article in one local paper, and she didn't get any clients from it. And she was like, well, that's it. That didn't work. I'm never doing that again. I was like, what? No, spruce it up, take it to another audience, you know? So if something doesn't seem to be working, that doesn't mean that you're a failure. It just means that you need to keep producing, keep doing it. And then as far as imposter syndrome goes, so what I tell people is there's two ends of the spectrum. One is the imposter syndrome, which is the, no matter what I do, how skilled I am, how knowledgeable, how educated, et cetera, I'm never going to feel like I'm good enough at it. And then the other side of the spectrum is the Dunning-Kruger effect, which is the, I don't know enough to not know that I don't know anything. And honestly, out of the two, I think being on this side is probably the better way to go, because it means that you're actually caring about the content that you're giving to your clients, instead of just assuming that everything you touch is gold. But with that, Helen, I would love to now pass that on to you.
Okay, so where do you start? So my tagline for my company for the last 15 years has been mindset, strategy, action. And I actually believe you've got to have all three. You have to have all three. There's no point having the mindset if there's no plan. There's no point having a plan if there's no action. There's no point taking an action if you've not got a strategy and you're all over the place. So you've got, in my world, you have to have, that's my tagline, mindset.
Spoken like a true Virgo.
Yeah, true like a Virgo. That's me. That is me. So that's my number one thing. My number two thing is Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. If you know Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, the cycle of change. So every time we start something new, we start with uninformed optimism. We are bounding into it. We're full of opportunity, full of potential. We're dreaming of that new car, that prestige, that status, that income, whatever it is that we've attached ourselves to that's coming with this new exciting challenge. And as soon as that wears off, we fall off into this phase of uninformed pessimism. So we start with uninformed optimism, no proof that this is going to work, but we're very happy about it. The next phase that Kubler-Ross says we go through is uninformed pessimism, where we fall off the cliff and go, oh my God, this is a nightmare. I've posted on Instagram, nobody's commented. I did a live, nobody watched. I just farted on Instagram live. I just, you know, all those terrible things that happen. And they compound and compound and compound until we get to the valley of despair. Once we get the valley of despair, that's when 99% of people give up because they haven't got any motivation to carry on. So it's getting through that valley of despair, and all you need in the valley of despair is to see one small sign of success. So when we get to that glass ceiling point, when I'm working with people, I am really hard taskmaster, and I say, until you've tried it 100 times, don't tell me it doesn't work. Do not tell me it doesn't work. When I started my software company, I went 18 months before I sold a jot. 18 months before I sold a jot. But then in the next 2 years, I got into 18 different countries, 18 different countries. I sold my software everywhere. But those first 18 months were freaking hard, man.
But I bet you learned a lot. Like every time it didn't sell, you were like, okay, I've got to watch this. I've got to refine that. I've got to pivot here. Yeah.
So the skill of being an entrepreneur is just, holding on for one more minute, always holding on for one more minute. But once we get through, so the valley of despair is about where expectation and reality are not aligned. So if you've got expectation here that you're going to go on Instagram, you're going to make $1 million in the next year, you're going to have 10K months, whatever that shit is that you bought from a salesman, and the reality is different. The further and further apart those become, the more stress is in your life, until eventually that stress breaks and you go, fuck it, I'm over it, and you're out. And so we just have to look for those tiny, teeny, weeny, small signs of success. And that's what pushes you out of the valley of despair and into the other side. And then what we have is informed optimism. That is a completely different thing, because you've got proof that this is working. Even if one person turned up to your live, even if one person commented on your post, you've got proof that it's working. And that's when your motivation will kick in and you carry on and you get to your goal.
And your reticular activating system will start to
absolutely, we know this
shift
stuff,
so that you're looking for
change.
Positives. Yes.
Yeah. So that's number one thing. Number two thing is, lots of people confuse imposter syndrome with beginner syndrome. And when you're building a business, if you're a hypnotherapist or a therapist of any kind, you're probably an empath. So you probably don't want to do all those things that the narcissists are so good at. You don't want to take 6 million selfies of yourself and post them on the internet. You don't. I don't. Yeah. I hate it. But that doesn't mean that we're not brilliant business people. We just got to get through it. We just got to get through that expectation and reality. You've got to align them so that the stress is reduced.
And honestly, just doing it helps too, when I started doing, I still have a really hard time doing lives, by the way. I can do this all day long, but when I go into a Facebook Live, I start to freeze up, and but when I started doing TikToks, that's what really helped me was you can set it so that only you can see them, and then you can choose if you want anybody else to see them later. I would do 100 of them, and I'd be like, oh God, it's horrifying, and oh, why did my hair look like that, or just whatever the stuff we come up with. And then pretty soon after a while, I was doing TikToks in my bathrobe with no makeup on, and those were the ones that got the most views.
Yeah,
so,
real.
Familiar.
I wanted to, James Casella, I know we only have a couple more minutes, said, has anyone built or have a website built for you, and was it worth it? I'm going to address this myself by just saying, I'm going to give you a little anecdote. So my first husband is a fantastic guitar player, so talented. He honestly could have been frontlining with B.B. King, this guy. He was so good. B.B. King never found him because he didn't play publicly. Because he was in our house, we had a little studio and then a living room to the side, but with his musician friends playing. He would sometimes play small, local clubs or whatever, but he never actually put himself out there. And so, of course, he's not going to get picked up by anybody to show off his amazing talents and skills. The metaphor, of course, being here, I'm sure it wasn't lost because that was pretty obvious, right? Is that if you don't have a website, how are they going to find you? You've got to get yourself out there. You can't wait. You can't just be like, well, I'm a hypnotherapist now. Where's all my clients? They don't know you exist. You need a website. And the website is going to help with that pre-sold component, because then they can learn a little bit about you. You could have a little video or just a blurb, and then maybe some testimonials, just little things so that they get a feel for who you are. And please make it welcome to visitors. Not something where they have to why can't I find the thing that I'm looking for? Just put it right up front and obvious.
Crystal, we build websites for hypnotherapists.
Good. That's good.
and I fund it personally. So they usually don't make any money, but that's for me as a business.
okay.
But that's my gift, and it's one of my gifts into the community. So what I would tell you, James, is 94% of traffic starts on Google, and it starts with somebody typing in symptoms of depression, symptoms of how do I get rid of a panic attack? How do I stop smoking? That's where traffic starts. That's why you have to have a website. They don't type that in Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. They type it into Google. 94% of traffic starts on Google.
Yep.
15% of the people who visit your website in the first 90 days will book with you as long as your content is compelling. 35% of people will then buy between 90 days and 2 years. And 50% of the traffic that comes to your website is never going to buy a thing. It's just there for the freebies, and that's okay. You just got to embrace it. Just got to embrace it.
I actually kind of like it when my website just filters out and vets people.
Yeah.
Then I don't have to waste time having 20 to 30-minute phone conversations with them.
Yeah.
No, I
But
want the ones that aren't serious to just take their freebie and
self-select
go.
out. That's right. The one thing with that story of longevity of a client journey in terms of buying from you is in terms of your pricing. If you've got your pricing on the website and somebody visits you, and it's hard to build that momentum and get people onto your website. You've got to do work to get that happening. If you've got your price there and it's £99 for a session, and then in 6 months time you've got more confidence and you change that up to £3.99, and that same person comes back because they're in that buyer journey cycle, and your price has suddenly quadrupled, they are not going to email you and say, hey, James, I saw you were advertising £99 6 months ago. Could you honor that for me? Nobody has ever written that email. Trust me, nobody's ever written it. So if you're going to put pricing on your website, the one thing I really about, actually, you can tell I get about a lot of things. But pricing, if you're putting pricing on your website, make sure it's solid pricing and you're not going to change it, because if you do put it on and then you increase it, you're going to lose a whole bunch of people that you've worked hard to nurture to get through your system. Does that make sense? Sorry, I rant a bit about this, Carissa. Sorry.
That's okay.
I can,
and I don't put my
people.
prices on my website when I am not busy, but when I am busy, I put my prices on my website.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when I'm busy, I don't want just all the looky-loos. I'm already booked out, 2 months or 3 months or whatever. So I want the people who are booking in with me to be absolutely like at threshold, and that they really want to work with me. And if they see that my prices are, what they are, which I'll be honest. This is going on YouTube, by the way. My colleague rate is $290. But my non-colleague rate for healthcare workers, vets, hypno colleagues, and educators, also people on disability, it's $290. For everybody else, it's $444 per session. And that's pretty high. But it also, I deliver a lot. They get me for 30 full days. It's not just one session. They get me for 30 days. Emailing, texting, we can chat if we need to on the phone or Zoom. But that when they see that and they still come in, I know that we're going to have great rapport, that we're going to have a great client journey, that they are fully committed, and I don't have to talk them into it. And if I ever feel like I'm having to talk somebody into it, I would rather just say, I don't think this is going to work, But we have 2 minutes left. Lisa, what's your take on websites?
Yeah, obviously it's great to have a website so that it's got everything about you and that people know, but like anything, people need to be driven to it. Because I don't know, Helen, this is probably more your thing, but do you think that people probably need SEOs and stuff, and if you've got a website?
Yeah,
it
pays for sure. It pays for itself.
So I get one booking a day from my website and I don't touch it. I don't do any marketing. I don't have time. I'm fully committed everywhere, but I get one a day from my website, and it's because the SEO is fully tuned in.
Yeah. So,
and also
SEO
Google Ads is, I think, personally for me, I don't know what you guys think, but it's the only thing that I actually do spend advertising dollars on is Google Ads. I do not spend advertising dollars anywhere else. I don't do TikTok ads. I don't do Instagram ads. I don't do Facebook ads, but I will.
If anybody's,
Google ads.
if anybody's on LinkedIn, if you write LinkedIn articles are indexed by Google. So when you post on LinkedIn, it just posts to LinkedIn. But if you actually write an article, which is just the second button along on the homepage, that article will get indexed by Google. Sorry.
Nice.
So if you write a good article, you've got good hashtags in the bottom, you've got a link back to your website in the article. If you use that as a comfortable tool to get your word out there, then that will start being picked up by Google, and that will move you up the ranks. If you don't know how to do SEO, that's the best thing that you can do.
That's great advice. I did not know that. I'm going to totally take advantage of that. And
Yeah.
on that note, with writing articles, don't just write one, put it in one place, and then get bummed out when a million people haven't seen it in a week. You got to put it wherever you can, alter it if needed, get it picked up in other places. Backlinking is also really a helpful way. If you can backlink to other organizations that have something to do with your niche, if you niche, and vice versa. Any last bits of advice? I was looking through, I don't see, Luana wants to know if you can post your link for your training, Helen. And then,
oh, sorry. I didn't see that.
Up higher, also Lisa, if you could post your link. So if you want to do that either in the chat, or you could do it in the Facebook group itself, because this is going to go in both places.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Go ahead and do that. Yeah.
No,
I've got a training. I do a free training every month. That's 10 days long. It's quite a big free training. It's live, but it's a big free training, but it's my trying to right the wrongs of the organization that I came from without saying too much. So I'll post a link to that into the group. It's cool and it's good fun. And the next one is on 6th of January, but that covers a ton of stuff that you need when you're getting started. And there's no strings. I'm not an icky salesperson. It's not a tripwire to buy anything. It's just me going, this is my way of paying it forward. So I'll post that link.
Perfect.
And
I love that there's so many different approaches. I would just like to reiterate from my point of view that we are never in competition with each other.
No.
None of us. Because one person like Helen is very like strategy, mindset, all of that. I'm more like, do what brings you joy. So there are people that will resonate more with me and people that will resonate more with that. And then, Lisa has her sort of more holistic spiritual and mindset and all of that stuff too. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Lisa, but like that's the feeling I get from you, is that it's more this like sort of
more of a heart.
Yeah. And I love that. I love all of it. And there's 8 billion people on this planet. Don't forget. So we're never in competition with each other, ever, ever, ever. And that goes for you guys too. Whether you niche or you don't niche, there's going to be some people that just naturally resonate with you. They're going to hear your voice and go, that's the person I want to work with. They're going to see your face and be like, that's the one that feels right to me. So you never have to feel like somebody else is taking your business from you. Please, please, please. You're not in competition.
No, no.
But Lisa, I would love to have you sort of wrap up with anything at all that you might want to add in, because you didn't get quite as much time, I think. So.
Yeah, no, I think all I would say to anybody is just find what it is that you're passionate about, believe in yourself, and don't do too much. One thing that I would say to Ursula, just with the programs, don't spend months and months creating a program, because you may find when you start working with clients that it will need to be changed and tweaked. If ever I do programs, I always do just 2 or 3 weeks in advance and then build it as I go. But that was just one thing that I just thought, because I did that in the past. I spent months creating this beautiful program, and then when I actually went to sell it, I decided that actually it needed to change a little bit, and there was so much time wasted within that. And I just think take action. That's what I would say. Take action and then reflect and refine, and consistency. Take action, consistency, reflect and refine, and just believe in yourselves, because we are all, as Krista says, we're all out there giving our best, doing our best. And if we can just be the best that we can be, then we will attract those clients, and and just get better and better at what you do. And the more confidence you get and the more you learn, then the more you can teach and help people. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And, having mentors is fantastic. It's wonderful, coaching, mentoring, all that stuff. But please don't fall into the trap of thinking that you have to be your mentor or be your coach. It's all about you being your own unique, beautiful, amazing, fantastic self, because that is going to be how the tribe of clients that are meant for you will find you. And if you're not being your authentic self, how can they find you? So thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you so much, Helen. Clearly, we had plenty to talk about. I'm sorry that Joyce missed us, but we're already over time. So I don't think that it was too, off with only the three of us. So, but thank you so much for participating. Thank you, everybody who dialed in. Thank you, all the people watching on Facebook.
Thanks, guys.
It's wonderful to have you. Lisa and Helen, if you can just pop your website or contact information into the group underneath this once it gets uploaded, that would be fantastic. And that way the people who resonate with each of you can find you and start working with you.
Just don't be on your own, guys. Don't struggle on your own. That would be the only thing I say to you.
Unless of course you're an ultra traumatized Gen Xer like myself, and it takes you like 2 years and then you go, I could have done this so much easier if I just asked for help. All right, I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much.
Bye.
See you guys.